You are walking through the cloister in the grey light of late afternoon. The sky is heavy with rain clouds, and the air smells of wet stone and earth. Your woolen robe brushes against your ankles with each step, the fabric damp and heavy from the mist that has been falling since morning. The flagstones beneath your feet are dark with moisture, worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. You can hear the soft patter of rain beginning to fall on the leaded roof above the arcade, a gentle, rhythmic sound that echoes through the covered walkway. Your hands are cold. You tuck them into the sleeves of your robe as you walk, feeling the rough wool against your skin. The chill of the stone walls seems to seep into your bones, but you are used to this. The cold is a companion here, as familiar as the bells that mark the hours. The arches of the cloister frame your view as you walk. Through each opening you can see the garden beyond, the herb beds dark with rain, the lavender and rosemary bent low under the weight of water. The stone fountain in the center stands silent, its basin slowly filling with fresh rainwater. Ahead of you, the arched doorway to the Scriptorium stands open. You can see the dim glow of candlelight flickering against the stone walls inside, warm and inviting against the grey dampness of the day. As you approach, the rain begins to fall more steadily. You can hear it drumming on the thick glass windows above, a constant, soothing rhythm. Droplets bead on the iron hinges of the door and run down the weathered wood in thin streams. You pause at the threshold and look back at the cloister garden. The rain is falling in soft sheets now, blurring the edges of the herb beds and the stone fountain in the center. The smell of wet earth rises up, mixed with the faint sweetness of rosemary and thyme. A gust of wind sends a spray of cold droplets against your face. You feel them on your cheeks, your forehead, cool and sharp. You blink them away and turn toward the doorway, ready to step inside. You turn and step through the doorway, into the Scriptorium. The change is immediate. The air inside is warmer, heavier, filled with the smell of parchment and ink, and the smoky sweetness of tallow candles. The door closes behind you with a soft thud, muffling the sound of the rain. You stand for a moment, letting your eyes adjust to the dimness. The room stretches before you, long and narrow, with high stone walls that rise into shadow. Light falls in uneven pools from the high windows set along the eastern wall. The glass is thick and bubbly, greenish with impurities, and the light that passes through is soft and diffused, casting a pale glow on the wooden desks below. Along the walls, your brothers are bent over their work. You can hear the dry, rhythmic scratch of quills on parchment, a sound like 1,000 tiny claws on stone. It rises and falls as scribes pause to dip their quills or turn a page, then begins again in a steady, hypnotic rhythm. The smell of oak galling hangs in the air, sharp and slightly sour, mixed with the faint metallic tang of iron salts. Beneath it, you can smell the dry, dusty scent of parchment, like sun-baked leather, and the faint animal musk that still clings to the prepared skins. You walk slowly toward your desk, your footsteps soft on the flagstone floor. The stone is smooth and cold beneath your sandals, worn into shallow depressions where generations of monks have walked this same path. Your desk is near the middle of the room, beneath one of the tall windows. As you approach, you can see your work from this morning still laid out. A sheet of pale cream parchment, half covered in neat lines of black text. And beside it, the small ceramic inkwell, the penknife, and the straight edge. You lower yourself onto the wooden bench, feeling the familiar hardness of the seat. The desk slopes slightly toward you, and you rest your hands on its surface, feeling the grain of the wood, smooth and worn from years of use. For a moment, you simply sit. The room is quiet, except for the scratch of quills and the distant muffled sound of rain on stone. From somewhere beyond the walls, you can hear the faint hum of plain chant drifting from the church, a low, resonant sound that seems to vibrate through the very stones. You reach for the parchment and pull it closer. The surface is smooth and slightly cool to the touch, with faint veins and scars visible in the cream-colored skin. You can see where you left off this morning, the last line of text ending in mid-sentence. Beside the parchment lies your quill, a large goose feather with the soft barbs cut away near the tip. You pick it up and examine the nib. It is slightly worn, the chisel edge no longer sharp enough to make a clean line. You take your penknife from the desk, a small blade with a worn wooden handle. The metal is cool in your hand as you carefully pare away a thin sliver from the quill's tip, testing the angle with your thumb. A few more careful strokes, and the nib is sharp again. You dip it into the inkwell, feeling the slight resistance as the feather draws up the liquid. The ink is dark, almost black, with a faint brownish tint and a slight metallic sheen. You let the excess ink drip back into the well, then bring the quill to the parchment. The nib touches the surface with a soft scratch, and a thin line of black appears, slightly glossy and wet. You write slowly, forming each letter with care. The quill makes a dry, rhythmic sound as it moves across the parchment, joining the chorus of scratching that fills the room. Your hand moves in small, precise motions, pausing every few words to re-dip the quill. The words you are copying are from the Gospel of Luke, a passage you have read many times before. But still, you form each letter as if it were the first time, with reverence and attention. The sacred text flows from the exemplar manuscript on the lectern beside you, through your eyes and hand, onto the fresh parchment. The light from the window is fading now. The afternoon has worn on, and the grey sky beyond the glass is growing darker. The rain continues to fall, a steady drumming that blends with the scratch of quills and the distant chanting. You glance up at the window and see droplets running down the thick glass, distorting the view of the garden beyond. The stone walls around you seem to close in, holding the warmth of the room, keeping out the damp chill of the evening. One of your brothers stands and walks to the wall, where a tallow candle sits in an iron sconce. He takes a small ember from a covered brazier and touches it to the wick. The candle flares to life, casting a warm, flickering glow that dances across the stone. The smell of burning tallow drifts through the room, slightly greasy and smoky, mingling with the sharp tang of oak gall ink and the dry, dusty scent of parchment. It is a familiar smell, comforting in its constancy. You return your attention to the page. The words are beginning to blur slightly in the fading light, but you continue, your hand steady, the quill moving in its careful rhythm. Each letter is a small act of devotion, each line a prayer written in ink and animal skin. Around you, the other scribes work in silence. Brother Thomas at the desk to your left is illuminating a capital letter, his brush moving in tiny, precise strokes as he applies gold leaf over a base of fish glue and egg white. The smell is pungent, slightly unpleasant, but you barely notice it anymore. Brother Benedict across the room is preparing a fresh sheet of parchment, rubbing it with a pumice stone to smooth away any roughness. You can hear the soft rasp of stone against skin, a sound as familiar as your own breathing. The bell tolls for vespers, the deep, resonant sound echoing through the cloister. Around you, your brothers begin to set down their quills and rise from their desks. The scratching sound fades, replaced by the soft shuffle of robes and the creak of wooden benches. You finish the line you are writing and carefully set down your quill. The nib leaves a small pool of ink on the edge of the inkwell as you rest it there. You flex your fingers, feeling the stiffness in your joints from hours of careful work. You stand slowly, pushing yourself up from the bench. Your legs are stiff, and your back aches from sitting hunched over the desk. You stretch slightly, feeling the pull in your shoulders and spine. The room is emptying now as your brothers file out toward the church. You watch them go, their dark robes blending into the shadows of the doorway. The sound of their footsteps fades, and soon you are alone in the Scriptorium. The silence is profound. Even the scratching of quills has ceased. Only the rain remains, a steady drumming on the roof, and the soft patter of drops against the thick glass windows. You walk slowly along the row of desks, looking at the work your brothers have left behind. Each page is a testament to patience and skill. Neat rows of text, elaborate capitals decorated with gold and vermilion, margins filled with delicate vines and creatures. You walk slowly to the door, your footsteps echoing in the empty room. The flagstones are cold beneath your feet, and the air has grown cooler now that the warmth of bodies and breath has dissipated. At the door, you pause and look back at the room. The desks are shadowed now, the parchment and tools barely visible in the dim light. Only the candles remain, their flames flickering in the drafts that seep through the cracks in the stone. You reach for the heavy wooden door and pull it closed. The iron latch is cold and slightly damp under your fingers. You push the door firmly, feeling it settle into the frame with a solid thud. You turn the iron key in the lock, feeling the bolt slide home with a satisfying click. The sound echoes faintly in the empty corridor. You test the door once more, pushing against it to ensure it is secure against the damp and the drafts. Satisfied, you turn and walk back down the corridor toward your cell. The rain is still falling, louder now in the silence of the evening. You can hear it cascading from the roof in thin streams, splashing onto the stones of the cloister. The corridor is dark, lit only by a single tallow candle in an iron sconce near the far end. The flame flickers as you pass, casting your shadow long and wavering against the stone wall. Your cell is small and simple. A narrow bed with a straw mattress and rough woolen blankets, a wooden chest for your few belongings, and a small shelf holding a prayer book and a candle. The walls are bare stone, whitewashed and stained with damp. You enter and close the door behind you. The room is cold, the air heavy with the smell of stone and damp wool. You can hear the rain drumming on the roof directly above, a constant, soothing rhythm. You walk to the small wooden shelf and take the candle from its holder. Striking a flint against steel, you light a small piece of tow and transfer the flame to the wick. The candle flares to life, casting a warm yellow glow that pushes back the shadows. You set the candle on the shelf and begin to undress. First, you unfasten the rope belt at your waist, letting it fall to the floor with a soft thud. The rough fibers have left a faint impression on your tunic, where they pressed against your body all day. Then you pull the heavy woolen robe over your head, feeling the weight of the damp fabric. Your arms are stiff as you lift them, and the robe catches for a moment on your shoulders before sliding free. Beneath the robe, you wear a simple linen tunic, thin and worn soft from years of washing. The fabric is cool against your skin, slightly damp from the moisture in the air. You sit on the edge of the bed and unlace your sandals, pulling the leather straps through the eyelets one by one. The leather is damp and stiff, and your fingers fumble slightly with the knots. Finally, the sandals fall to the floor with a soft clatter. You flex your bare feet against the cold stone, feeling the chill seep into your soles. Your feet are pale and marked with red lines where the leather straps pressed against your skin. You fold your robe carefully and place it on the wooden chest, then pull back the rough woolen blanket on the bed. The straw mattress crackles softly as you lower yourself onto it, the sound familiar and comforting. You pull the blanket up over your body, feeling its weight settle over you. The wool is scratchy against your skin, but it holds warmth, and you can feel your body beginning to relax into the mattress. The candle on the shelf flickers, casting dancing shadows on the stone walls. The light is soft and warm, a small pool of brightness in the cold, dark room. You lie still, listening to the rain. It falls in steady sheets now, drumming on the roof and splashing on the stones outside. The sound fills the room, a constant rhythmic presence that seems to wrap around you like a second blanket. From somewhere in the distance, you can hear the faint tolling of the bell for Compline, the final prayer of the day. The sound is muffled by the rain and the thick stone walls, but you can still feel its vibration, a low, resonant pulse that seems to echo in your chest. You close your eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the day settling into your limbs. Your fingers still ache slightly from holding the quill, and your back is stiff from hours bent over the desk. But there is a deep satisfaction in the tiredness, the knowledge of work done with care and devotion. You think of the pages you copied today, the neat lines of text now drying on the parchment in the locked Scriptorium. Tomorrow, you will return and continue the work, but for now, the day is finished. You open your eyes and look at the candle. The flame is steady now, burning with a soft golden light. You watch it for a long moment, the way it flickers and sways with the drafts that seep through the cracks in the door. The wax has melted into a small pool around the base of the wick, and a thin stream runs down the side of the candle, hardening as it cools. You watch it, transfixed by the slow movement, the way the liquid becomes solid in the span of a breath. Finally, you reach out and pinch the wick between your fingers, feeling the brief heat before the flame goes out. A thin trail of smoke rises in the darkness, carrying with it the sharp smell of extinguished flame. The room plunges into darkness, sudden and complete. For a moment, you can see nothing. Then, slowly, your eyes begin to adjust. You can make out the faint outline of the door, the dark shape of the chest, the deeper shadow of the stone walls. You settle back into the mattress, pulling the blanket up to your chin. The straw crackles softly beneath you, and you can feel the cold stone of the wall through the thin fabric of the mattress. The rain continues to fall, a steady, hypnotic rhythm that fills the darkness. You listen to it, letting the sound wash over you, feeling your breathing begin to slow and deepen. Your body grows heavy, sinking into the mattress. The cold of the stone, the scratch of the wool, the sound of the rain, all of it fades into a soft blur at the edges of your awareness. You can feel sleep beginning to pull at you, a gentle tide that rises and recedes with each breath. Your thoughts grow slow and distant, like the muffled chanting from the church, a low hum that vibrates at the edge of hearing. The darkness is complete now, a thick, velvety blackness that presses against your closed eyelids. There is no light, no movement, only the sound of rain and the slow, steady rhythm of your breathing. You think for a moment of the manuscript you are copying. You see in your mind the neat rows of letters, black on cream, the words of the gospel preserved in ink and skin. You think of all the hands that have copied these same words before you, and all the hands that will copy them after. And then even that thought fades, dissolving into the darkness like smoke from an extinguished candle. You let go. You let the day dissolve, the scratching of quills and the smell of ink and parchment fading into the distance. You let the cold and the damp and the stone walls recede, becoming nothing more than distant sensations, barely felt. The rain falls, and you fall with it, drifting down into the soft, welcoming darkness. There is no effort now, no thought, only the gentle pull of sleep and the knowledge that you are safe here, in this small stone room, beneath the weight of the woolen blanket and the sound of rain on ancient stone. You drift deeper, and the darkness grows softer still, like water closing over your head. The rain becomes a distant whisper, a faint echo that fades and fades, until there is nothing left but silence and sleep. And you are gone.